So just a little more clarity around that. MAGA folks are saying that the people with H-1B visas are taking their jobs too? Girl, dear MAGA folks, y'all do not qualify for the jobs of the H-1B visa people. It's high tech. It's a different tax bracket, honey. You do not qualify for those jobs, girl. And I know this because in college, I worked in the Office of International Student Services, where I was collecting the checks from international students. And international students, they have to pay in cash, baby. The check has to clear before they do anything else. And then afterwards, once you graduate, in the in-between, you look for a job. And then the company that you are going to work for has to sponsor you, which means that company has to pay for you to be here. Y'all don't, MAGA, your brains are working in too many realms in which you don't have access to. Stop it. H-1B, above your tax bracket. That's all you need to know. That's all you need to know.
Elon Musk is defending H-1B visas, and Trump's allies are not happy about that. Here's why this visa program is causing a massive divide in Trump's inner circle. The H-1B visa is a short-term visa for highly skilled workers. Think engineers, doctors, architects, and even artists. It's also been a crucial visa for tech companies, but it's also become a hot-button political issue. During Trump's first term, he suspended the H-1B program temporarily. Fast forward to now, with Trump's second term on the horizon, his allies like Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy are publicly supporting the H-1B visa program. They think that this program is essential to filling talent shortages in America in various fields. Musk even has compared it to NBA teams trying to recruit international players. But not everyone agrees. Right-wing voices like Laura Loomer and Mike Cernovich, well, they're basically calling it a betrayal of the American worker. And Trump's appointment of a venture capitalist who's also in support of the H-1B program has sparked this condemnation. So really the big question is Trump going to crack down on the H-1B visa program once again? Or will tech leaders sway him to help keep the program intact? And here's the big kicker. Musk and others have a lot riding on this program, especially with lucrative government contracts and investigations into their companies at stake. Meanwhile, the H-1B visa program has had an impact on hundreds of thousands of workers and companies across the US. So what do you think? Should H-1B visas stay or go? Let me know in the comments and follow me for more immigration news, tips, tricks, and...
The HB1 visa program has sparked a significant divide within the MAGA community. On one side, you have a tech industry leader Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, who argue that the program is essential for attracting high-skilled foreign talent to the US. They believe that the shortage of top engineering talent in America necessitates the use of HB1 visa. On the other side, MAGA supporters are vehemently opposed to the H-1B visa program. They argue that it undercuts American workers and contributes to jobs losses for US citizens. This faction believes that the program is being exploited by companies to hire cheaper foreign labor instead of investing in American talent. The debate has led to a civil war within the MAGA community, with some supporters accusing tech leaders of betraying the movement core principle. The controversy has also exposed underlying tension and something racist sentiments within the group, particularly against Indian workers who make up a significant portion of H-1B visa recipients. Over the H-1B visa issue has become a flashpoint to broader discussion about immigration, job security, and the future direction of the MAGA movement.
Hey, TikTok. Well, I couldn't let the day go by without doing something on the H-1B visa thing. So the way I understand it, and I am no expert on it, but I am an American trained engineer, currently retired, 70 years old, but I would still work, but my skills are not up to the current standard. But I want to tell you what happened during my career. Well, I can't prove it, but what I feel like happened, and I don't have the evidence, so this is just my feelings, okay, is that somewhere along the line, my kind of American salary needs or even expectations priced me out of the market, and that market that I got priced out of included people that were willing to work with those H-1B visas. And I didn't understand that. And at the time, I could have played my hand differently, and I probably would have had extended my career in still somewhat high paying, not like super high paying, but I would have been very more better employed and more comfortable. Instead, what happened is that I just thought my tech skills of, creating collaborative applications, teaching web development to others, knowing how to code, understanding databases, even having created my own app, which was a foundationally precursor. It could have been anything like a Facebook, a Twitter, or anything like that, because it basically let people collaborate amongst each other in these little private spaces. I mean, it was crude, but it was in the same general genre. But instead, when it came time to annual review, I was like, well, I really think I should get a bump up here. And I got a bump out instead. And why? Because, and again, in my belief and opinion, that there was others, the bosses, the people that pay the salaries, all the HR people said, hey, we don't need this probably somewhat arrogant American who's now making demands. And maybe his work is good, but it's no better than what we can get at a better price. And it's really supply and demand. Okay? And you know what? I haven't been bitter about that. I know at least one other family member who basically had the same thing happen to him. And I think he is very bitter about it. But I do think the reality is that, if your political party, and I'm talking about MAGA now, is going to take the stance of America first, that should include people who do have education and training and who, I guess if you're going to bring in people from other countries and say, hey, we don't have enough Americans that can do the work, so what we're not going to do is educate people, our own people. We're not going to educate our own people, and let them have the good high-paying jobs. No, we're going to take the well-educated people from other countries, and we're going to put them into well-educated and well-trained people from other countries into these positions, and basically screw the Americans. That is not America first. So now you have a real interesting situation where Elon Musk has built companies with all these H-1B people, and I've never heard worse fighting words than what he tweeted in writing about doing sexual things in weird places of people's bodies, and that we have no idea how hard he will fight this. So that is telling you right there that his companies are based on people with the H-1Bs, not Americans. Because if he didn't, he was, I don't care, Americans are great. No, he basically said, I didn't see this quote, but I've heard numbers of times, he basically said the truth. That, like me, not quite as good, bit more expensive, maybe too old, maybe too arrogant, whatever it is, they'd rather have a young, smart, freshly trained engineer from halfway around the world who's not an American citizen, not America first, but more profitable for a business. And I mean, that is meritocracy, folks. What gets me about MAGA is that there's just this complete always inconsistency. It's like, yeah, you want a meritocracy, but you don't want a true meritocracy. You just want it to be working for you. So now you got Musk taking that position, and then what does Donald do? Since Donald has gotten so much money from Musk and probably has, same thing. Donald is, now Donald also says, yeah, I like the H-1B. He likes it because Musk likes it. If Musk said, I don't like H-1B, Donald would be saying, I don't like H-1B. So now your guy, and yes, I am trying to create some space between you and your guy because I think he's duped you all along. But now he's saying, hey, you're well educated. You pay for that expensive American education. And now we're just going to undercut you. Yeah, we're going to undercut you because that's also supply and demand, pure and simple. If there's one halfway okay American engineer for a job versus one A-okay, halfway okay American engineer and 50 A-okay foreign engineers, well, the supply has gone way up and the price, when you have oversupply, the price drops. And so there you go. So Americans getting squeezed. We get squeezed on the high end, good paying jobs. And then on the low end, we allow all these immigrants in. And yeah, we've been told, I love that euphemism, these are the jobs that Americans don't want. It truly is, again, supply and demand. I would pick fruit for $25 an hour, and if we didn't have all these foreign people in here picking fruit or whatever they do, that we're so happy that they do because we don't want those jobs, then the pay would be higher. I at some point, and I'm sure, the MAGA folks will be spun up a nice spinny tale about how this is going to help America become first, but it doesn't, guys. It helps American companies come first, because what America is basically is a playground on which wealthy people and companies can do whatever the heck they want, but America is not for Americans. And if we were, we'd be educating our people. We would have the educated workforce that was the envy of the world. And other countries would be seeking our workers. But we're not, because we don't put our resources into education, which is a whole nother discussion. But that's a reality also. Why do we lag behind other countries in terms of our ability as a country to produce educated and skilled workers that have the education and jobs needed for the jobs of today and tomorrow? And with that, I am going to land my plane.
People who come over to this country on an H-1B visa can be taken advantage of in various ways. I used to work in IT, in recruiting and project management. My experience with these people was that they were highly skilled, hard workers, honest. And sometimes they would come over and they would be sponsored directly with a company for their position, so they knew exactly what they were getting into. Other times they would come over and these body shops, as we refer to them, would bring them over and promise them a certain salary, a certain type of position, and they would get here and sometimes that position would be available, but only for a few months. And then they'd be back on their bench. And then they would be forced to take a job that was either beneath their skill level, lower pay than they were expecting. And it put them in a tough position because sometimes they had families here that they were now supporting. And they had no choice, because if they didn't keep employment, they would be sent back. Although sometimes these employers are bringing people over because they can get them for half the price of a U.S. citizen, there are other instances where the skilled labor just does not exist here in the U.S., or there's not enough of it. So like if there's a new technology and it's hot and many companies are recruiting for it and there's projects that they need people for, they need to get people on H-1B visas because they just don't have enough skills here in the U.S. So I'm in support of people coming over and making a living and filling the gaps where we obviously have them. But I'm also for treating those people fairly. They shouldn't be paid less than U.S. workers just because you've put them in a bind. So we'll see what happens.
Okay, my thoughts on the whole H-1B visa situation as somebody who is literally a hiring consultant for my career. and I work with hundreds of people on H-1B visas. I've placed hundreds of them. I work with executives, hiring managers, VPs, C-suite, everybody to plan their hiring initiatives and plan workforce and hiring strategies with major corporations and like smaller, fast-growing startups in tech, biotech, and any really technical industry. So I think anybody against the H-1B visa situation does not fully understand the need for overseas talent in our workforce. And I think it's a great thing that great engineers and great talent from across the world want to come here and contribute to our society. Yes, I will acknowledge that the best and the brightest that come here are on O1 visas. They're not on H-1B. And I'll hit the argument on the right that it's driving the price down for these engineers that have been trained in America, because the people on H-1B visas will come here and accept lower paying jobs. And then it's also allowing companies to abuse the visa, as these engineers are forced to accept lower paying jobs to be in this country. And they also have to stay in the job and don't have as many options. So it's like literally the opposite of taking a team offshore. It's bringing a team basically onshore. But the thing about this, and truly somebody who does this day to day, work with executives to plan hiring, the budget doesn't change. The budget will never change. If it's too expensive to hire in America, they will move offshore. Corporations are about making money. So yeah, there is a need for overseas talent in technical industries. That is something we cannot get around. And I will always support the best person getting the job, no matter what. And it's a huge reason that I don't like DEI initiatives, because I have seen time and time again that hiring managers or executives need to hit their DEI quotas. And so they will not hire the best person for the job because they need certain numbers in their organizations, which means they have to hire somebody who isn't as good for the job, but it checks boxes. So a huge reason I don't like DEI initiatives. But you also have to account for sometimes the best person for the job fits budget. And yes, we might have a more talented individual, which happens all the time, that is out of budget, but that means they're not the best person for the job, because the budget's not going to move. It's not. And if we force it to move, it will force them to hire overseas. So there's a huge need for this overseas talent in America. So I really do think if you don't support H-1B visas, like, you just really don't understand supply and demand and the need for overseas talent in these technical industries. And then for everyone rejoicing and MAGA disagreeing on this is a really good thing that we disagree. It means that we don't operate as one unit. It means we're not like all brainwashed and following our quote unquote leaders that you guys say. We accept a variety of thought in this country. It's what makes this country amazing. And then I will say, I despise Laura Loomer, and I so disagree with what she said about Indians. I find it disgusting, but that does not mean that she should be censored or unverified or silenced in any way, because I will always fight for your right for free speech, whether or not I agree with it. And we need to let the court of public opinion sort this out, because the truth will always prevail. So if somebody wants to be hateful, I don't know, pray for them. Hope they go to therapy and sort it out. Or just say you don't agree and move on, but they should not be silenced, because that's a slippery slope. So yes, I will always support immigration so long as it's done legally. I want talented people across the world to come to our country and work. I understand the argument that it's driving the price down for people trained in this country, and it's not putting America first. That being said, corporations will always be about making money. So if we do everything to put America first, they will take their business overseas. They will create offshore teams. The cost is not, the budget's not going to get bigger if we eliminate H-1B visas. It's not going to force them to hire Americans. It's going to force them to go offshore to hire.
Vivek didn't say anything to surprise me, because I was one of the only American students in my biomedical informatics master's. That's essentially health tech. Earlier this month, I posted about how dangerous it is to have a whole lot of people working in health tech and affecting our healthcare who are not only unfamiliar with American politics and healthcare and culture, but they hate us and hold bias towards us due to all the propaganda they've been fed throughout their lives. And let me tell you something, they are not here because they're so much smarter than Americans. It's all rooted in capitalism, because the amount of zeros that I had to hand out as a TA because of plagiarism, oh my God. The universities love international tuition because it funds their programs, and the jobs know they can exploit them. A lot of my classmates had, I think, 3 months to find a job or get out the country, and they would take literally anything. And we would get like job descriptions sent over to our university, and they would share them with the students. And I was just like, you are very obviously seeking out H-1B visa students. They'd be like willing to sponsor, da 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 da. And it would have them doing 3 jobs for like $60K a year. And I would laugh at the job descriptions because I'm a full-blooded American. I'm built this country black. I can't be deported. I'm not gonna get exploited at the job. Vivek said the quiet part out loud. He got too comfortable. He thought he was one of them. He thought he had a seat at the table. It is so odd, bro. The love and hate they have towards America and Americans. He gonna get put back in his place.
This MAGA versus tech right war, this unforced error by Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, is a key opportunity to chip away at the MAGA base, because they are going to be very disillusioned to find out that their president was bought and paid for by the tech right, and so now has to answer to the tech right.
The Republican Party is in the midst of a very public civil war, and this time it's about H-1B visas for skilled immigrant workers. On one side, Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy said that the program is important for tech companies. On the other, Trump's MAGA supporters are feeling angry and betrayed by the idea of letting in more foreign workers. The real irony? Musk and Ramaswamy are now being attacked for being so-called pro-immigration, even though they've spent years demonizing immigrants. Musk, whose tech companies use foreign engineers, argue that America needs more skilled workers, comparing it to recruiting the best players for a championship team. Ramaswamy, who Trump tapped for a new government job, said that American culture has celebrated mediocrity for far too long and doesn't produce enough skilled workers. He even blamed old TV shows for this. This angered Trump supporters who've been fighting to reduce immigration. Far-right figures like Laura Loomer and Ann Coulter criticized Musk and Ramaswamy, saying that they're hurting American workers, while other politicians argue that America should focus on its own workers. So, to sum it all up, the two of them should just play ball and shut the hell up. In response, Musk has taken action to silence his critics. He demonetized Laura Loomer and other conservatives on Twitter, stripping away their ability to make money, removing their blue verified checkmarks, and making their posts less visible. This shows just how far the divide between Musk and MAGA supporters has grown. Meanwhile, Trump is sending mixed messages. While he restricted H-1B visas during his first term, now he seems open to granting green cards to foreign workers who graduate from U.S. colleges, causing even more confusion in the Republican Party. The fight over H-1B visas shows how divided the GOP is. Musk and Ramaswamy represent the business, tech, oligarch bros of the party, which wants more immigration to help companies compete globally. On the other side, MAGA supporters don't want any kind of immigration, even for skilled workers, because they think it takes jobs from working class Americans. What's both hilarious and downright pathetic is watching Musk and Ramaswamy reap what they have sown. These are men who have spent years demonizing immigrants, even though their own lives and families have benefited from immigration. They backed hardline policies like building a wall, thinking that they somehow be the exception to the rules they champion. Now, as the MAGA mob turns on them, they're the ones begging to be let in. And really, what else would you expect? Musk still fawns over Trump, the same man who once tweeted that Elon would get on his knees and beg if asked. Turns out, Trump was right. Musk is doing just that, only now it's for approval for a movement he helped fuel. And if you're expecting me to feel sorry for Musk or Ramaswamy, well, don't hold your breath. Jesus wept, but I don't give a damn. I save my sympathies for the working class and immigrants who have been subjected to hateful rhetoric and policies, not the tech oligarch bros that thought that they were the exception. So, with just 24 days into the inauguration, things are for sure going to get interesting. Who will pull through? The immigration hardliners or the rich tech bros who are surprised the leopards are finally eating their faces?
So who do y'all think is going to win between MAGA and Elon and Vivek? So if you haven't heard, there's this whole discourse. Laura Loomer called out Elon and Vivek for wanting to push for H-1B visas, which is like a temporary work visa. And they use these a lot in their companies because they're able to employ immigrants to come and work on a temporary status. So it's really big in tech. It's supposed to be for like highly skilled labor, engineers, that kind of thing. So these capitalists, they use these because they are able to get highly skilled labor at a reduced rate. And so Vivek is basically saying, of course we need to do this because Americans don't value education. It's much harder to train you guys, and it's a culture thing, and all this, and MAGA is losing it. They're losing it because they're like, wow, you should just train us to do these jobs. Like, this is America. These should be American jobs. You should not be pushing for more immigration, and especially not immigration from them brown countries. So now, MAGA, y'all, what y'all want some affirmative action? Is that what we need to do? Oh, wait, maybe we can push DEI. Get some diversity in there, because if they're hiring all the brown people from India, we could push for DEI and get white males. That would be the diversity. Like, oh, but wait, we rolled that back, and affirmative action too. So you get what you get, and you don't throw a fit.
Bad news just in regarding H-1B visas. President-elect Trump just doubled down on Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy's position regarding H-1B visa issuance doubling in 2025, which unfortunately is bad news for U.S. skilled labor. I don't know what impact it may have overall on U.S. labor, but in terms of skilled labor, as we all know, within this realm, we've been struggling quite a bit with foreign competition. And the way that we've been struggling, just so there's no misunderstanding, is not about competition over skills. It's the sheer volume of foreign applicants that means that when we as U.S. citizens apply for roles within our own community, we're facing a world of applicants internationally, such that there may be thousands of foreign applicants versus tens, or if we're lucky, hundreds of U.S. citizen applicants. We tend to apply for roles in our own community where we have family and roots established, whereas foreigners seeking to come into the U.S. for employment purposes are often willing to go anywhere in America, not always, but often. And given that we face just the sheer numbers means that there's a very low likelihood of U.S. skilled labor pursuing roles such as software development engineers and other types of engineering and tech roles, basically not even getting a technical assessment, which essentially is just a evaluation of talent within the specific industries, which would then usually lead to an interview thereafter. So it just means there's a very good chance of being overshadowed due to the number of foreign applicants, never being noticed, never having that skill assessment, meaning we don't even get a ticket to the game of competition versus foreign workers. Bad news. I was hoping for a different outcome. I was hoping that President-elect Trump would kind of step in and throw this kind of out the door and take a different path, aligning with a lot of the MAGA supporters that are currently experiencing, I would just call it a rift over this issue, unpleasantness, unhappiness, and some concern. We'll see where this goes. Things change. If you're enrolled in a program, please keep going. Don't back out because of it. If you're considering it, I would still go for it. You can find great employment in STEM still. You just have to be more persistent than ever. I don't think it's about skills, honestly, because if you don't get the interview, the skills are never an issue. It's about being noticed in the massive sea of applications versus a ever-growing sea of foreign applicants wanting to come to the U.S. Anyway, fingers crossed this will work out. Let's keep up the good fight and hope for the best.
So there's been a big fight between Elon Musk and the rest of MAGA over H-1B visas. And if you don't know what an H-1B visa is, it's something that American companies use to bring in foreign tech workers who at least have a bachelor's degree, and also fashion models. That's right, fashion models. There's actually a carve-out in the H-1B language for fashion models because sometimes you want to import really hot people, but they don't have degrees because they never had to get them because they're really, really hot. So to sum up the fight, between Elon and MAGA. Basically, Elon says he needs H-1Bs to bring in skilled workers to do jobs that Americans can't, and the opposition is like, there's plenty of Americans who can do this work. It's just that whether they're working for Apple or picking apples, foreign workers will do that for way less. Also, a foreign worker on H-1B can't just up and quit without getting deported. And there's one thing corporate America loves. It's an indentured servant. So people were wondering, where's Trump going to land on this? And in a fairly unsurprising betrayal of his working class supporters, Trump was like, no, I like H-1Bs. I always have. That's not true. But listen, this makes perfect sense, right? Because of course Trump supports H-1Bs. Melania was brought in on an H-1B visa as a fashion model. So just like Elon, Trump likes H-1B because it lets him bring in foreigners to do the jobs that no American is willing to do for so little reward.
Now, things are not easy. Things are taking another level. Now MAGA supporters are not trusting their leader. They are not trusting DT. It's crazy. Things are going crazy. I don't know how to explain this, but some have started questioning. Some have started questioning DT what he's doing. He's not taking their part, he's taking billionaires' part. All right, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for being here. Let's catch up in the next episode. Bye-bye.